Let me first invite for those who are sitting at the back, come to the front so we easily to see your face, and then we can discuss.
Durian ya.
So I think we are ready to start, but our projection is not ready. But let me introduce myself. Who am I? My name is Arun. I'm working for the Corporation of Cambodia from Cambodia. CCC is a membership-based organization. We represent around 160 international and local organizations in Cambodia. Today it's my privilege to be invited by the organizing committees to be as one of the facilitators for this session. So I hope you will enjoy today's discussions. It's on beyond 2050 development agenda and how the good governance should be well reflected in the beyond 2050 development goals. Let me inform you about the process of today's discussion. Because of the timing, we might have only 1 hour and maybe 20 minutes. The session will be concluded by 12:30, and we are ready for. Within this discussion, this session, there will be a very small introduction from me on today's sessions. And then I will invite some key resource persons to provide their keynotes regarding to today's session. And then we will have 3 questions to be answered from you. You can have peer discussion on this question, and then I will invite some of you to answer to this 3 questions. And very sorry that we cannot invite all of you to talk and respond to all these questions, but some of you to represent yourself to discuss into this discussion. We together here to participate in the Open Government Partnership Forum, especially within civil society side. And we are discussing also regarding to the good governance as one of the top key topics that globally is now discussing on it. Talking about good governance, we can also see there's very key issues, and some of the countries consider good governance as the core development agenda for the national strategic plan. For example, like in Cambodia, we consider good governance as the main pillar for our development of our plan. And many other countries in the world also consider good governance as a core pillar for the development in the country as well. Then, if you look at the Beyond 2050 Development Agenda, which is the Millennium Development Goal, is going to be end by end of 2015. And the Beyond 2050 Development Agenda has been discussed for years by our civil society, private sectors, as well as intergovernmental organizations and the UN. The report has highlighted that good governance is an issue to be well reflected in the new Millennium Development Goal or new Beyond 2015 Development Agenda. If you look at numbers of reports, especially report on the high-level panel of eminent persons in Bali, I think last year in Bali as well. And also the report of Sustainable Development and Solution Development, as well as the report of Secretary General. We can see already it's about 12 to 15 goals that reflects numbers of things that the next development agenda should be highlighted, should be agreed in principle and also in practice by globally and civil society globally for implementing after beyond 2015. And in order to ensure this, one of the global process, we have the open working groups on the sustainable development goals. And this also discussed about Rio Plus 20 conference, as well as the document of the open working group also highlights about 16 focus areas. But looking at this three document, high-level panels for eminent persons and the UN Sustainable Development Solution Network, as well as the report of Secretary General and the report on documentation of the Open Working Group on SDG, we still see governance as the core issues, and the core principles should be very reflected in Beyond 2015 Development Agenda. What we believe is that the good government, or accountable government, transparent government, and democratic government require to have good governance principles embedded in the overall system and their practices. So that's why we require to have good governance. It's the most and the core principle for everything. However, some of discussion globally still see that good governance should be treated as a cross-cutting issue. Some countries consider good governance should treat as a native environment. And there is a need to debate, even in the civil society based on beyond movement globally, recently discussed at the Patria in South Africa. We also consider beyond the governance treated as the cross-cutting issues. But we are here as civil society and participate in open government partnerships. And especially we here representing members of civil society are working on promoting transparent accountabilities as well as fighting against corruption. So we believe that corruption is the enemy for everything. It's the enemy for development, for economic development, social, and this and that. And when talking about corruption, it's very much connected to good governance. So which one we choose good governance or we choose corruption? So that's why we here want to see whether we would like to come up with a strong communique, with a strong statement that we civil society participate in this conference. We want government globally to reflect the good governance as a single goal or a separate goal for beyond 2015 development agenda. Then today's discussion, we'd like to get your input whether the good governance should be a separate goal or it should be cross-cutting issues that can reflect within some indicators in the new beyond 2015 development agenda. But from our perspective, as I mentioned earlier, based on all this report and based on the global movements, good corruption should be as a single goal for the Millennium Development Goal. There will be a few questions. We will have 3 questions to be discussed here, but before moving to the question, let me invite a few representatives here from NFIT and also from Article 19, who've been working very hard to promote civil society voice within the open government partnership, as well as we together also fighting against corruption and promoting good governance, transparency, and accountability within the segments. So I think without further ado, let me invite Sugeng, representative from NFIT, to have some insight remark. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. I'm going to share with friends about why it's important for us to advocate the governance into the post-2015 agenda, as already been distributed here and also by Sharon, that there's a possibility that governance will not be part of the post-2015 agenda. There's possibility. Why? Because some countries are really opposed to this governance in the broader sense as well as in the narrow sense. So that is our challenge. That is our challenge. How we convince, how we persuade the quote the hardliners government country like China and other countries. And we should remember the economic and politics country like China as such that make other countries it's hard to speak their mind openly because of many consequences and many implications. And based on our experience in Indonesia itself, we already persuade our government that Indonesia should take stand firmly to promote governance into the post-2015 agenda, because Indonesia is one of the open government leading member or leading participant or even the initiator. So that is an issue. So in other words, whether the governance will be in the post-2015 agenda. The second issue is if somehow we were able to put that governance agenda into the post-2015, question is whether we as a CSO thinks there should be a standalone goals or it's okay to be an indicator. So there's a huge differences between it stand as a governance as a standalone goals and governance as a indicators under different goals. So that is the second issue, which is the substantive issue. Whether, according to us, civil society, we need to put that into the standard goals or indicators. The third, basically, is whether we will take the approach to the government more broader concept or more narrow concept. So that is the discussion. Example of the broader issues is that whether our concept of good government includes not just effective government but also non-discriminating and self-government. Singapore, for instance, is an example of effective government, but I don't think the idea of rights is there. I don't know. And maybe not just to put Singapore, but to put Indonesia itself, yeah, also still struggling to put non-discrimination policy as part of both the justice and the governance issue. So basically, that is our what we know about what is at stake. For us as a CSO, why we need to put the governance issue into the post-2015 agenda. For your information, of course, post-2015 is the upcoming or the will be international agreement on development that will replace MDGs. And now it's under discussion and under being developed with a lot of participation from many stakeholders. And if we learn from MDG, what is lacking from MDG in 2000 is that it has no governance goals at all. It is very much development in terms of how the state should invest into the social spending, into the making more opportunity, but it lacks the idea of open government, accountable government, and so on. So if we want to learn to avoid the mistake 2000 and 2015, and we want to have better work between 2015 to 2030. So I'm personally believe that we need to put governance into the post-2015, and we still have the opportunity to do that.
Okay, thank you so much, Sajid. And I think Article 19 also work very closely in how to advocate our society voice into the new development goal. So, Judy?
Good afternoon. My name is Judy Ting. I'm the Asia Program Officer for Article 19. For those of you who are not familiar with our organization, we're an international NGO focused on freedom of expression and freedom of information worldwide. We have about seven offices. And we believe quite strongly in having a standalone goal for governance, the post-2015 agenda. Because in our work, and working regionally in Southeast Asia about access to information, we find oftentimes that a huge impediment to development issues is the lack of information. And as we said earlier, that corruption is a big obstacle, and the way of curbing corruption is ensuring that the government is transparent about what it does. And the reason why we are in large defense of having a standalone goal is that having a standalone goal emphasizes the importance of governance and access to information. And so it shows that that is a marker, and in that, it makes it measurable. Because once it's a standalone goal, we can set indicators and targets for that in and of itself, and see across countries that it is being achieved. And so we feel really strongly about that, because development's not just about telling different government systems that we need better healthcare or better environmental issues, but to also provide a means to achieve that, and to provide people to ensure that that's happening. And for us, that's our governance in the post-2015 agenda. And so, given our shortage of time, I just want to make clear what our position is as an international NGO and access to information, and we'll contribute to the discussion. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Judy. I think another two movements that can contribute to today's discussion as well. Another one is Beyond 2015 Alliance agenda, represented by Lee here and also TI. So Lee, would like to share a few points how the current movements globally on Beyond 2015.
The since it is a cruise that we try to connect the world that we heard from the countries to advocate with the UN at office, and we usually has meetings with the yes, with the offense working groups. And we also has advocates on the subject area now that both of duty they are working, and they will post about the 19th area and some suggestions, and we provide recommendation, and we expecting that this Monday, next week, we will come again to discuss on the budget and cost area. And I really appreciate and agrees with Article 19 and suggest that advocate that the good governance should be a standalone goal. As I heard from the many documents from HRP report and also what we have discussed in the last year, I heard that the good governance issues everybody that the try to see is in the MDG. And based on the focus area that classify the offense working group, I just note that in its area, agriculture, water, energy, we just mentioned about the transparency, good governance, but not highlight a separate the good governance. So I'm really support that good governance. It would be a standalone goal. It would be enough goal to achieve 12 goals that is lasting. This is what I want to say.
Okay. Thanks so much, Lee. I think one of the biggest movement on the transparency and fighting against corruption, and most of us here from Transparency International chapters. But we have one representative from Berlin to say. You just hear what happening during the annual general meeting of TI, and maybe one of the ideas about something related to government. So,
So thank you very much. Yeah, as you know, Transparency International is a group of organizations all over the world. We're over 100 chapters. So this is an issue that's very important, very key for the movement. And we have, I guess, two messages that are quite clear that we have heard from the chapters all over the world. The first message is that it is key that we have a standalone goal on the post-20 NDGs on governance, of course. It is something that you all know better than we do, that having open, transparent, participatory and accountable government is the basis and the catalyst for development. All the wins that can be achieved towards development and reduction of poverty throughout the years are only sustainable if there is a governance structure that can maintain these achievements. So for that reason, we believe that for the anti-corruption movement and for the sustainability of development advances, there should be this governance standalone goal, and it should be accompanied also with measurable, intermediate, and progressive indicators to make sure that we can hold government to account and people can make sure that the development progress is sustainable throughout many more years, post 2015 and post 2030 if necessary. Thank you.
okay, thank you so much. I think the floor now is given to some of you if you want to jump in for remark. You like. If not, we can move to address a few questions here. We have 3 questions here. Oh yeah, yes. Is in general, yeah? Or you are addressing these 3 questions? In general.
My name is Rosalie from Thailand, from Sustainable Development Foundation. When we are discussing on the good governance, I agree with the presentation, but at the same time, if we just only advocate governance without a very clear ideology on the world, the concept, the ideology, the paradigm we are talking about, sometimes when we know ensure that having itself without a context of the paradigm of development made it into worsen the situation as well. So I would like to highlight that we need to also link the governance with the paradigm of development. I agree with one of our advocates just now that we have to ensure rights approach in the development, and we should oppose, in my opinion, I stand for opposing uh, economic-driven development and international market-based development. So if we are talking about governance, and then without that kind of contract, with that kind of contract, it's somehow very hard for me to be very clear active in that part. So I would like us to somehow having that kinds of discussion a little bit before getting to a very technical kinds of intricacy of the governance by itself. And I do agree that why we need to have a standalone governance as a whole, and also specific measure need to be identified. But at the same time, in principle of sustainable development, in all other sectors, we also need to ensure governance in that aspect. But we should not only attempt to have a separate sector without looking into a specific governance, in particular specific kinds of issues related. So that is what I would like to advocate my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Okay, gentlemen.
Thank you. I think what is important for us is to find a very fundamental argument and not simply saying that we are in support of governance being a standalone. We need to develop a very specific argument, such as saying that the current governance, kind of governance, which is very much state-dominated, already consume around, in the case of Indonesia, for example, 30 to 40% of state budget being wasted. It's more than simply pointing out that bad governance then ends up with corruption. No. It is that high costs that Indonesia has paid. Once again, around 30% out of inefficiency in managing the state budget. And that is maybe around, I believe nowadays, around $300 billion. We need to also say that, well, Indonesia, as one of the proponents of open government, for example, has failed in many aspects of fulfilling the MDG targets. Why? Because government has been ignorant to the rights of the people. There is no surety for the government to make a mechanism where and when the redistributive justice is at place. We also need to say that almost government policies have been formulated by those intellectuals, the elites, making there is no way for the common to reclaim their rights. These kind of arguments will have a buy-in, the arguments in the UN forums, rather than simply saying that once and again we say that governance is important because of corruption. And everyone knows. And that is why many countries like China or many others as well will hold the position of against of making governance or good governance as a standalone. We need to point out a number of arguments that will be also acceptable. Thus, going out of the box than simply build arguments around that corruption. Thank you.
I think it's related to the question number one is that how important is the good governance issues. And you are right, we need to have some practical acumen in order to influence the thinking of the policymakers. So can we, again, if you like, we can have a peer discussion on these three questions. Then we can, after the peer discussion, we can answer one by one question. That's one proposal. Another proposal is that we can answer, as a plenary discussion, discuss by question 1 for 15 minutes, and then go to question 2, 15 minutes, and then question 3, another 15 minutes, because we still have around 45 to 50 minutes. So, which proposal would you like? You would like to have a peer discussion for 15 minutes on these three questions, and then we can open for a reporting from your side.
We should go one by one.
One by one as a plenary. Yeah. Okay. Will we endorse that? So now we discuss on the question number 1, how important is the issue of governance aims becoming a standalone goal in post-2015 development agenda. So,
Oke, mungkin saya pakai bahasa Indonesia daripada saya rasa untuk bisa agar kita paham apa yang akan dibahas, lebih baik kita sepakati dulu mekanisme yang kita harapkan tentang pemerintahan yang baik. Setelah itu baru kita akan sampai kepada pembahasan apakah nanti pemerintahan yang baik ini akan menjadi agenda penting di di Pasca 2015 nanti. Terima kasih. Ada yang
can you do
more or less, like the lady is saying, first thing is that if we can everybody hear me now?
The lady was saying that, first of all, maybe we should agree on what constitutes good governance, and to be able to provide an agenda on the important points that can later be discussed. So that the discussion follows a certain organized line and doesn't go all over the place. So that you first of all agree on of what constitutes good governance and discuss on those points.
Who can have to highlight this? If you look at the document from UNDP, at least 8 principles within the governance. One of them is about transparency. Okay.
I'm sorry, before we proceed, I look into the time spent. In the agenda itself, we're supposed to do the end by lunchtime. I think it's too, I would like to propose changing the timing, because if we are discussing and then try to end the discussion without a real understanding, what is my point of coming here very far away and then have only half they discussed and then not really get into a detailed discussion. So maybe I propose the working group, the preparation group, to really consult with other 2 rooms. If we can spend the whole days, I don't mind at all, because that is the intention of coming here to engage and also to promote governance. So it is not ending by 2 o'clock and then taking picture and then finish. I will be disappointed if we are going to do this. So, and then we can proceed for the discussion. Thank you. So it means that we don't have to be very large trying to finish and then without really knowing what we are talking about.
Mine is just more on the process, because there was an earlier suggestion we have to discuss it as a plenary. My only apprehension for that is that the group is too big, and then some people might not be able to really engage in the discussion. So yes, I agree that we should be able to clear first what do we mean by good governance. And I agree that we have to have a more intimate discussion about this. But maybe we can break out the session, these questions into smaller groups so that we have more intimate discussion. That's it.
Any further suggestion? I think the organizing committee is here, so we can have to decide. So the suggestion is to have small group discussion, but also another suggestion, parallel session, is to have a clarity of what good governance means to all of us, and then we can build on from our understanding. Then we can have the practical acumen on why we want to have a standalone goal for 2015 development change. So can anyone want to do a little bit lecture on good governance in this room? Can someone volunteer to lecture? Okay, revealing yourself.
I like to try about my understanding about the governance, not to lecture. Yeah. Actually, we good governance is we control government to do good thing, and to make many right thing. I understand. That's why that is controlled by the H pillar. H pillar. There is one pillar is one of the CSO, and the other pillar is a media, and the three pillars. You already have know about the three pillar. That is government, jury. Sorry. Yeah. Let's say H pillar there is. So that's why we have to balancing the H pillar. So we try to balance the A pillar. We can benefit many things. That is, we can pass over corruption, and we can pass over misuse the power. So that's why we are balancing the pillar. So on my point about the post 2015 and for the MDG. So on the other hand, my understanding is the post 2015 they will be based on the economic development. So economic development is very important to make country development. So that's why very important role is government is very important role for that. So governments, their very important role in government is controlled by the governance. So that's why governance, how to control governance is the firstly I express the eight pillar balancing. Eight pillar balancing is I can memorize many things is CSO and White Short Agency and executive and sorry. And law enforcement group and let's say I forget about this. That's why we need to balancing the all things and media. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I think I would echo to the suggestion of the lady that we split our groups into three also, one dealing with the question, because otherwise there will be lots of discussion and we will decide on nothing. Because everybody want to propose everything, and at the end of the day there will be no proposal. So split into three groups, either one group deal with three and then combine, or three groups, one with one question. Please, thank you.
The plan is that we have the team to have a drafting team for having, we will have a communique from our discussion today. We have only one drafting member. So what we want is that if we divide into three groups, then each group also needs to have documentation back, so we can consolidate during the lunch time, and after lunch we can present what it means from the group presentation. Is it okay? So it's also a language barrier as well. I don't think our interpreter can move to all these three groups. Can also we arrange the group by would like to call 1, 2, 3 or language?
This is just a suggestion, and I agree with everybody that I think we should break up into groups because otherwise I fear that we're not going to achieve very much. I believe we have 25 minutes till lunch. It's a very short time. I think lunch is at 12:10. And then we're going to meet again. And so to be productive, I think we should break into groups where people can communicate easily. I think that language is fine, because people can extract from their local contexts. So I think that's fine. I think that however we break up, I think every group should answer all three questions, because I think we can agree what governance is.
Let's go with that.
So I think every group should, we know what governance is. I can type the UN definition on this computer, and I think we should decide like why we think it's important as a standalone goal as civil society. So from us, determine why we think that's important, and then secondly, to determine how we think the OGP should approach it. So I think those are the two key things. I think we can agree with what governance is and why it's important, but more like from a civil society perspective, why we think that's critical. And whether we want it as a standalone goal, because that's Article 19 stands, but perhaps some other groups might believe that it should be cross-cutting. And so to try to understand what the different opinions are on that matter, and then to determine how we want the OGP to approach it. So I think that's how we should break the groups up. So I think language is fine.
Okay. Can you try out the suggestion of this? That's still related to our three questions earlier. But want to discuss at the group, we come up with the conclusion as well, the suggestion whether it should be a single standalone goal or whatever after your discussion. But the organizer, do we have enough room? Here. Okay. So why don't the language group and more understand Indonesian? You can go to Indonesian group, and the rest you can have English group this side, one group on this side, and then Indonesian group on this side. Okay? Yeah. So do not use the mic, not interrupt others. So within your group, please choose one moderator and one reporter. Write down into your paper if possible. Okay? So can discuss until 12:15. Okay. Right? 12:15. Come back.
The group dari pecah.
Right. So one group is here. Turn your seat. Face-to-face discussion. And one group is here. And for those who want to have local language discussion, please.
English group here. Yeah, maybe we can turn here. English group.
Local group. Local group.
English group, English group.
Kita sudah bersudah.
Aku nggak lihat nomor Jawa. You can do it. I think yes, you could do it.
Someone else.
Somehow you can do it. Mekanisme kita adalah
I think you should. Yeah. I think. Okay.
Tentang pertanyaan penting terjadi dengan rasa-rasa yang agak supaya semua
How important is governance?
Kenapa itu penting? Just quickly, sorry, I understand saya kalau mau mulai, it was suggested we already governance, then I really don't see we should reinvent what it is about this. But I'm goes to the explanation of the UN definition of governance, which has the eight pillars, and we don't follow the definition of good governance, which is used by the World Bank, which is more economic view. Yeah, so if you look at it, we should already take the box and say, go with the UN definition.
Access to information, meaningful participation, accountability, transparency, rules of law.
Effective, efficiency, and also equality and inclusiveness. So, yes, exactly.
Could you read Article 12?
Article 19 is important. I don't know anybody in the CSO that we will
Because one, it should be participatory.
We need to elaborate by we cancel that. articulate based on our past experiences or our institution working.
So my understanding is there is no real issue with definition of this governance, but the issue is really, of course, with implementation when we have this very abstract definitions and we have to measurable, like, okay, but what does it mean? Again, having a forum can discuss.
Very different, difficult. I'm missing one very important component. It's fairness. In law, fairness is fairness is treatment what other.
That's also in rule of law.
Sometimes hard, sometimes black and white law is something and fairness is different. So rule of law might be law, whatever is that state has, and if that law is followed, that is rule of law. That may not be fair. Anyway.
I think we may be clear that in principle, and then one of the yes, I can also elaborate on that.
And Thailand is not. I have a question to make clear. That is really important how governance is in the existing system. It is really
there's huge incentives to develop across the board, whether it's enforceable eventually, legal locking, and hospital issues. And Article 19 finds that.
I think we can answer the first question.
So I think when someone saying that it's not
defining that governance. Not just something, the sort of the other protocols, it basically undermines the mechanisms by which the sure.
Just, by definition, other people say something like that.
People
undermining it. So I think that, just to have
because,
stakeholders in terms of, not just, as a tool for development, but as a role in itself, it's very important to have this example because it's not about it helping us achieve, economic development.
That's our focus, yeah.
In and out.
And we believe that.
So I think that's
clear indicators.
It's very important to have it as the how. And I think secondly, it goes back to the point of clarity. If you're not going to clearly define it, it's going to be very hard to talk about that and see what has happened.
What are the
Because those are the two ways why I
does anybody else know from your own country's perspective what arguments are?
Yes, so as we discussed in what you see as team Natalia should we go to and if we understand about when we talk about God, it's not just governance, but just only governance. Governance, when we talk about governance, I think it starts.
Yes, the Article 19 is
When I running my home, it's a governance itself. Not only administration at the level of administration, not only at the level of my government, but I think it should be start. We talk about campus building and knowledge and information. In community level and grassroots level and should be goal of but not only about, I'm not talking about transparency. I think that if I don't know what is governance and what is role of governance in my life, I can't talk and I can't demand transparency. I can't hold accountable of my corporate life. I will not participate. I will not participate because I have no idea. As a youth, as a community person, as a normal person, I have no idea what is the word. But I thought it should be start like capacity building, awareness generation, skill building, power. So when we talk about poverty, it should be included in education also. I think. It's my opinion, and I think we should start there.
Linchpin. Sylvia tries to answer the first question now.
I'm talking about the first question now. And what I'm talking about why is important, why governance is important for us, not only for us, citizens, for all citizens.
We will just define it as a set of environmental, environmental indicators that will give background to post-2050 goals. So they will say things like that. So in one sense, they're saying it will still happen, but you're not really you will still find out. So we need to find a way to respond to that. That's remarkable. To convince them why it's not important that even probably the lawyer not prepared for the people.
Should I say that the governance issue is important for us? Should we go ahead and possibly looking at it because we have several laws in our country, but there is, if we talk about UN definition, equality, transparency, accountability, and another 5 or 6,
It's not the most expensive for the we need this nothing good for nothing on every policy. And the government in Cambodia, the government we have not the president, but we have we don't have many other things.
There's no any benefit at all, because we have several roles and they are not implemented, there are no mechanisms, sometimes there is lack of resources in governance structure, that's why properly functioning.
All of the schools that come up not leading up to
anyone
of the school that would be not so for that kind of reason, I think we should be a level of create the issues about that would if you have a court that will make the court have investors
rights can jeopardize itself with my rights. Sometimes it's all about
when actually the government tries to reform our using very corrupt electoral systems. Then you get a government again. For example, in Cambodia, you have government using the National Election Committee to stay in power. They will say to do well, they are when they start the government to make sure that they stay in power, that is very
Just to add why we
they highlight something about
this is the way why you will get better measurement in terms of commitment. If it's spread out, then it will be difficult for us to monitor things. And it is also difficult for us to monitor for more deeper indicators, more deeper targets. Because it's spread out. That is, we have it as a several goals with specific targets, then it will be better for us. And also this year for us to push the government to fulfill their commitment on that. Because if it's just like a then we go ahead and governance how it hasn't
we also talked about how the problem is that a lot of the documents created challenges a lot. To the justification, you might have so there are and then what we I think about how it's not just about monetary practice, on these roles, but also
as a citizen, I would like to control the change. So far, maybe no mechanism and measure to ensure that myself, my people, really know what is happening. But there will be a negative impact to me, to my younger generation, and mostly for the vulnerable, especially women. They are even made harder to live their life. That is one I would like to add. And the second one, I would like to be part of the solution. And right now, the structure really makes it so difficult to address the problems. For example, misuse of resources, misuse of budget, and also the use of power to oppress others, and make use of the policy to really get advantage of us and get themselves richer and richer. And I think I would like to be part of changing unjust structure. And the other thing, I think that what we are talking now, we are talking about sustainable development. We need to ensure that whatever direction of change would not give harder life to our younger generation. So that's why we have to ensure the direction of change that we agree. We have sense of belonging. And the other thing that I would like to add is in terms of development. We should be monitoring should be different from press to press. It should not be a one model. It's not the political work, but the decision making, sense of belonging should be among what is possible. And they should also to support the right for us to decide what we do with that, what progress we have, and ensure that equity and justice will be met. So in order to achieve this lesson, this is all a chapter
what is our vision for the capability to have what is our vision about the government? So we can accelerate the government. That's we all agree that is that we need good governance. That's why what kind of image
should we relate that to the number question? Because we have advance and then it leads to your question and then it's quite
because if we can make
I agree with everyone that I think that we all agree that the government should be government and all governments is very important. But that was nothing about I assure you that if they put it, they already highlighted that it's so if your focus is set, you have to mean that what I'm doing is first of all, because it is historical, and second of all, because it's specific, and third of all, also because it is emphasized importance of the government. That's why we wanted to be central. So the goals is actually my second point is that if you are so much even probably a lot of information is about for example, we want our government to be more transparent. How we are going to ensure that second, we want our government to provide a space for citizens to participate in deliberating policies, in making policy, in even taking our feedback into their own considerations. And third, probably we want our government to be more open. Our government to be more open. Because we as a society, we believe that we should be able to control government because the power of government is small. And sometimes we need to set us up. That's why the government needs to be more transparent. And fourth, I think that the government that I envision is that the government is more open in terms of the transferring their own functions. So the government is a collective of functions. Then the citizen has to be more happy. But then again, in terms of participatory, I guess that most of the job of the government probably will be implemented, for example. And I believe that we are in the form of opportunity having a partnership with technology. I think it's a huge opportunity for us. And I think that OGP has provided a platform for scaling the companies, especially in its post-2050. Because in terms of the OGP, we believe that OGP provides a platform, transparency, accountability, and participatory to be able to incorporate so OGP also needs to be able to provide a link. So there is a link, and I think that we are doing that in our OGP. Why, as an OGP member, sometimes we need to because in my opinion, because I believe OGP is a platform for the system, and OGP able to bring country and TS together to be able to advocate on common interests and common goals that we want and we see, and the government that we wish to see.
and what customer.
Provide a platform to the governance structure. And especially the program of the governance structure, they should not only governance program, but also civil society program. Right, together with the rest of the civil society, to create a positive ranking through the discussion next to reflect their civil opinion to their institutional platforms. To the preventing
This is also by this, I think that we are really and make a budget for giving a budget more to the people rather than paying for the company. Because what happened in our country is that is 80% of our you need to spend on it. I'm the one who brought it, but this was I think that we need to put like extra put in the higher capacity. I think that is
maybe on that also on the maybe you should footnote that don't only want government to be more transparent and informed what they're doing, but that they also deliver the data so we can read that's the aspect. We cannot only get a tweet about budget, but we actually get the figures, the raw data, and make our own analysis to have better understanding.
The next part of the discussion is really put on the then the next part is quality extract and highlight and then once we do that, I'm just basically they're asking us that into
reason 3, 4 for the broad independent of transparency, so
the government needed to say the target
and in the Asia, so it means that to allow
and ensure that the second one is ensure the
area
government is
mean that not agency development, but then let the government should be included and the second part,
and the fourth one is ensure local government is transparent,
administration of gender.
and make sure and
it has to be in the structural decision making.
we can add
That's indicator. You should ask them.
Coordination of budget based on different groups, especially marginalized group. So I think that marginalization, vulnerability group should be highlighted in the decision. There should be not only meaningful participation, very
it's like a
of their resources, including this society will address that in addition
approach that.
We should say that when we talk about participation, people and the meaning is
Yes, that's what the next have, right? And so I don't know how to reach that, but I mean, it's super hard. You how to put the civil society engagement. It's not part of the planning process, but also the implementation, also the because what happened in Indonesia, the civil society becomes something just government the planning process. Afterwards, the government would just do us. We are not involved in monitoring and also the process.
Empower to the watchdog agency. Watchdog agency government activity.
So you will have
they always watch. So that's why watchdog agency. How much empower watchdog agency?
We should move second question, that we can discuss second and third, between second or third question before, because we need to discuss two other questions. Sorry to interrupt, yeah, and we have limited time. Not broadly, but yeah. During the yeah, some point came up during the first question discussion, but not broadly. So we should move now second question.
We were already touching the second question.
Okay, you are right. Can anyone wants to add something?
Can I say it again? I am sorry. I would like to disagree the state to reduce the role of private sector, privatization, and then take back certain role to ensure welfare of the people. Because right now, with the privatization, everything costs money. But then there are certain groups that the state need to invest and then put the investment to ensure the people welfare. So the direction of change. I still agree that certain roles should be in the private sector, they should private participate. But right now, with the concept of privatization, was then the second one is about system of protection. With open market right now, different countries cannot protect their own citizens and cannot protect the poor sector because the like market works, but then the market is not their market. Those who make decisions are only certain companies. So I would like to see the change. And the measure government to more responsibility to take care of people, not allow really open market to operate and then create problems. And the third one is natural resource management. Natural resource management now are being used for economic development. And the people themselves, in order for them to ensure food, income, and their culture, they have to protect their right to access and control and participate in natural resource management. Water, sea,
using
the variety of biodiversity, those kind of that
this is not the
what I try to say is the citizen right and also for the people to access and control of the decision over natural resources.
This is highly accurate.
Yes.
Although I agree with you. We should analyze that we not just follow the free market. I think not only free but also
I don't think we can improve this as an indicator. I don't think we can improve this as an indicator of what to do. I mean, that's very, very clear.
Yes.
Sort of motivated statement, and that's fine. Or, I mean, I think right now we should stick to developing sort of individual targets and really let's see as part of the
Maybe just a suggestion for what I can do scenarios, maybe one element of good governance is needed to come up with sure yeah, that can mount elements like infrastructure, should not be let down by privatization. Secure
can be beneficiary and it's a
Say like this, governments have more responsibility on this kind of things.
how you can measure. So I think when we talk about integrity, you should measure more accountability and
regressive. The private actors are not there. I think the government is responsible for reward of it. Private exercise, very important for the development. So we have to ensure private actors is sustainable and at larger level. So let's not talk about this privatized. And what making target, let's not give only target to the government. Let's give target to civil society. Civil society also they have benefit of society. In many parts of the world, civil society is not really looking for society, only for the small member-based companies. They also have to be accountable to our society. Let's target to the other place.
we can say when we need to decide indicators. And some point is there. I think we talk about education and we talk about and we talk about medical education, not about education, but comprehensive education. Qualitative education, and yeah, we can talk about yeah, but how is that a so I understand that, but I'm saying that right now we're testing specific targets and indicators that should be under the governance board in the post-2015 development agenda. I'm sure that education is the entire topic in and of itself, right? I mean, there's a link there, but I mean, I don't know, like, I suppose I'm not very clear on this. Just in culture, just like, Right, yeah, I mean, the things that you mentioned right at the beginning, yeah, because when we see, when we stick to the UN definition, it already has indicators. We already discussed the I don't know why we're talking about education, I mean, if you go into that much depth and detail, then it's going to be a never-ending session, because governance links together. But when we, I mean, I think when we're listing these targets, we have to make because I think we should stick to specifically to governments related and discuss it. I'm going like
I think it is under that, at the same time, under different duties. What will be ensure under that, I think. So we can
Sorry, minus. Is it too long?
Essentially, what I was thinking was that if we were like, we talked about those 4 or 5 goals. So if we say as a target, what are the targets is engagement and representation, what would that include? Including making sure that there's meaningful engagement with women and youth when it comes to decision making, right? Or is it things like, inclusiveness of resources and say public financing. So things like this. Similarly, if we talk about transparent government, then access to information, proactive disclosure of information, open data, these would be all subcategories of transparent government. So I thought that's how I can represent it. I mean, I won't go into that much depth because there will be numerous indicators under that. And then natural resource management, for instance, among of them. So, that's a cross-cutting thing because if we're talking about, we want accountability, we want transparency. At the same time, we also want citizens to be able to have a say in the control over what is happening with these resources. So again, that's another cross-cutting. So a lot of these things are sort of cross-cutting. Efficient institutions, we can talk about decentralization as how we cater to that. That's how I. And as for the third question, since we have very little time now, basically we agree that OGP is incredibly important. We are incredibly important because this is basically a living platform. We are so advanced and gently with this, on the
building a nice platform for government.
I would like to propose basically on this one, question number 3. Whatever government drafts, but at the same time, the government should allocate budget for civil society, create people's forum, and then make that one the development plan. And also they have to ensure, especially we have government lesson before they go for international meeting and decide for post after 15. How important it is? So the internal process is to be ensured, and the government should do that. And at the same time, in order to ensure that the government listens to us, the alternative development plan from the people themselves, we can collectively do it inside the country, and we can also try to advocate collectively internationally.
Other CSOs are, we know that in the governance system we have no space and we can't enter. So I agree with
Revati.
Anybody wants to add something or just within 1 second because we have
we were discussing here.
I just to first about the government by how
it says that it's on the same level before all these other development issues. And then it shows that it's very important that all the other development issues. sustainability importance and
the first budget I would improve transparency, accountability, and it also shows the government and the capacity of the private that's possible for life. This environment that is for life and life of value. And the second budget I would have to propose and involve all people these activities who have practical life and qualities, accessible, reliable, and distributed information at all levels. And the last budget I will propose about the peaceful food, equal and meaningful participation, and influence of movement in all decision-making body at international, regional, national, and community level.
That is what we have said is under number 2.
Yeah, but
Please improve that. Because the exploration is more how we would like to ensure governance in the post-development.
So we have discussed, just one more. I'm just looking for, though there's resources allocation. I'm looking for more of like policy or like more structure or something like that. Like an organizational policy that people can be involved. Like, say for example, whenever there's a policy or a decision made in OGP, it has to make sure that there is agreement with the citizens and that. So more of the, I don't want it to fall protocol, but like a guideline or like a system. A systematic development of
More monitoring of the
including that, like more of the systems.
So like social audit, right? Social audit.
We like developing a system.
Yeah.
We want that it start.
The people can monitor budget and
monitoring, but also the structure.
you
Structure
have a
would
structure
be,
in place.
yeah, structure in place, some certain mechanisms of engagement, like maybe there should be a meeting.
Anything environmental,
Or like concrete systems.
I would like to add one point engagement policy making and law, new draft new law at the time new laws.
Suggest additional information in the such one, plus some very innovative.
Well, I agree. I mean, in terms of but we have to recognize that regardless of what you say, you can't I think we have we have to articulate that whatever we say seriously, and then if we can't even say the word, I mean, it used to be in our country, government quite resistant in terms of how we can use corruption. In Cambodia, they would use, instead of corruption, they use inactive activity. Other than that, it's actually if you want to fight corruption, somebody would say, how can you fight it? That I would ask you just to put down. Yeah, I mean, whether you want to I think that's to be honest. I think
Terima kasih buat initiators.
Okay, may I invite you to stay in this room until 1 o'clock as well, the organizing committee, to further discuss among our team to come up with concrete consensus point or agreement. Okay, so thank you so much for working in the small group. I hope that you come up with very concrete suggestion to our drafting committee. So let me inform you the process of today's discussion until 1 o'clock.
Maybe it's in this corner of the other room. Because I forgot it.
Okay. From the information from organizing committee, we can extend our discussion until 1 o'clock, and we have lunch for 30 minutes in 1 to 1:30 and come back to the plenary. And the plenary will be presented by our representative from this group, not the small group, but as a representative from this group, amongst other 2 groups, okay? But for now, we have 3 different groups, so it's better to invite each reporters.
Does everyone, every group already collecting their report or they some discussions?
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that we have a very strict timeline. That's why we are going to discuss until 1 o'clock. Or could you give us the time to compile, or you want to deliver it in the group? That are probably the suggestions. So I suggest probably each and every group would highlight it, the point of discussions in every group, and we are going to write it down and put it into display as the agreement on this group, and that will be the materials that's to be put in the community. How about that?
Great.
Yes. Rather than we have to compile with all the files and so on and so forth. Okay, let's move with that, and I think that we are going to have about 15 minutes, yes? Yes? But 15 to 20 minutes. So each group probably will have the time maximum for 5 minutes. Okay, let's just start the discussions.
The first group.
Yes, so I think you would like to volunteer yourself first.
This is obviously me volunteering myself. So we're the international group.
Can you?
And I just volunteered myself. Oh, sorry. So we were only able to really answer the first 2 questions and a lot mainly on the first question. We established that we have a consensus on making the governance a standalone goal in post-2015, and then we had a lot of discussion on the things we can say on why this is important, why it should be a standalone goal. We want to be able to effectively respond to governments that give reasons on why this should be a standalone goal. So governments will usually respond not by saying that they're against governance, but by saying that it can be in post-2015 in other ways, aside from being a standalone goal. So we want to respond by saying that governance is more than an enabling environment, and that if it remains in post-2015 agreements just as an enabling environment, it won't be able to, post-2015 will not be able to address the deeper issues that we want changed, such as even as deep as the processes of bureaucracy, the way they manage their data, and the way they implement good laws that a lot of countries have but are not being done. So advocacy-wise, we want to show that governance is just as important as the other development issues that will have standalone goals, such as poverty, etc. And we want to use post-2015 as another platform for making governments accountable to commitments that they have already made before globally on governance, such as in the UN, in Busan, etc. And we want to use post-2015 as a way of continuing this extracting of accountability from governments on these commitments So there should be no reason why they can't continue these commitments in post-2015 when they've already discussed this and agreed on it in previous global discussions. And practically, governance as a standalone goal makes it easier to monitor, so we can holistically see improvements just in governance if it's a standalone goal. We can have more indicators and targets that we might not be able to have if governance is spread out as a cross-cutting team in different post-2015 targets. And we already have a lot of existing international definitions and agreements that we can use to define the details of the governance target. Our group already also discussed some of these that we want to highlight. A lot of them address corruption issues, and these are transparency or the legislation on access to information, accountability, which includes checks and balances, independence of institutions, especially the judiciary, rule of law, protection for whistleblowers in the press, expression freedom, etc. Continue the existing MDG goal and global partnerships, better partnerships, efficiency in government performance, prudent use of public funds. And we can also say, we can turn it around instead and say that enabling environment in governance can also be an indicator or target, part of the governance as standalone goal. So that's our discussion. Thank you.
Number 2. First of all, is it sufficient for the groups, that the groups are already satisfied with this? Or do I need something? That's fine?
We can supply note.
Okay, you can supply the note afterward. Yes. Okay, let's move on into another group. Oh, okay. Oh, you want to present? Okay.
Or to start.
No worries.
So for the first question, which is how important is governance as a standalone goal, I think we all, the entire group agreed that it should be a standalone goal. And the reasons for that, firstly, it emphasizes the importance of governance as a goal in and of itself. So it's not just a means to development, so it shouldn't be incorporated in the other goals, but it should be a goal in and of itself, and it just undermines how important that is. And secondly, it's important for it to be a standalone goal because if you're not going to have it as a standalone goal, it's going to be very difficult to follow up on the progress. So in terms of measuring progress, developing indicators and having a lot more specificity and clarity, it's important to have it as a standalone goal. And then the other reason is that governance has a direct impact on people's lives, and that's why it needs to be a goal in and of itself. Also, one of the reasons we identified was that in the existing mechanism with the Millennium Development Goals, citizens are not really active agents of change. They do not have as much of a say in what is development, how you define development, and what they really want. So when you include governance as a goal in and of itself, it very actively involves citizens as agents of change and in determining what development is and what happens to their lives. Then moving on to the second question, which is the specific target and indicators that should be included. We sort of divided this into some broad targets and then further divided these into subcategories. So for instance, one of them is citizen engagement and participation. In this, we want to highlight the fact that they should be specifically focused on involving youth, women, and marginalized groups. Also that when we talk about citizen engagement and participation, the citizens should be included in processes such as budgeting, so they should be participatory budgeting, public finance. And then one of the other areas was transparency and open governance. So this would include things like proactive disclosure of information, open data portals, access to information laws, and then implementation of these laws. Efficient institutions, which includes things like decentralization
Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. But one of the points that did come up, and I don't know which category it would fall under, was that of natural resource management and how it's important for it not just to be transparent and accountable, but that citizens should very much have a say in what is happening with these resources. And then what role should OGP members play to ensure governance is included? So OGP it plays a very important role because this is sort of like the linking platform between civil society organizations and countries. So it sort of it will help in the collaboration internally in terms of determining what these goals and priorities should be, and then also inter-country in terms of promoting the OGP agenda. And also the OGP will allow for a concrete system of engagement which will allow us to sort of monitor and formally see the progress on the governance goals and targets.
Okay, let's move on into the OGP.
Just to make it quick and we can have more time for lunch. Actually, we simply echo what that has been presented. Thank you. To the committee. So please put them on the screen. Or otherwise, we can simply say that the materials that have been presented. Yeah, that's too much to present. Yeah. So lunchtime will be at 2 o'clock. Yeah. What?
5 key points.
5 key points.
Yes,
That will make us eliminate the other members of the civil society. No. Yeah. Actually, why it is important, because there are many substantive reasons on why the governance should be put as a standalone goal. The first the first thing which I wish to mention is that we cannot make a selection of which one is more important, because once again we cannot eliminate the ideas which is presented by unique civil society. So, but one point that we can mention here is that basically, first, governance need to prove the result of the will push the production of result, production and co-production of results on the post 2015. Be that for the migrants, for the underprivileged, and so on. And we also agree that governance is actually at the core of all, so that it need to be specified. Most notably because we also argue that basically the ends could not justify the means. That would mean we are not advising that improper means can then be legitimized. The rest others are more or less similar, so I will not repeat the presentation of group 1 and 2. But what we need to advise is that we just provide these points for the rapporteur to combine according to the wanted structure. The second, and the more important is actually that is discussed in the group is on the second question. This is much less generic in the sense that we wish to advocate that what are the targets. First is that the institutional design matters. It means that there are many flaws that we have seen in regulations, informations, and technologies, and so on, that are not actually answer the challenges on the fulfillments of NDGs, and that is why institutional design is the first and the foremost target that should be achieved both in terms of governance and also in its connections to the post and MDGs. The more concrete is noted on the information, and almost all of us echo to the importance of providing access to information to the civil society and the people at large. The other is on the process of implementation. That it should involve civil society. And then lastly is that it's not yet noted. The institutional design should also assure the involvement of the disadvantaged or the marginalized, such as the migrants, women, the disabled, and so on. The value add of our answer to the question number 3, other than the ones which have been presented by Group 1 and 2, is actually on the utilization of regional organizations or regional forums such as ASEAN to really advocate on the importance of governance in the global or UN forums. Something that have not been fully exploited the mechanisms. The other is that it is already now the time for the civil society and the government to go in hand to advocate the importance of governance in the global forums. So those are the added points that are on top of the ones which have been presented.
Right. Because of the time being, almost all the points come up with our agreement, just writing different terminologies and words. I don't think we have time to consolidate this together with a big group. Can I suggest for the reporter to have lunch together in one table? Right. With the drafting committee, so then we can come up with a presentation representing the voice of this room. Because is it okay? Okay. Then we can. You were one of the key team members in that. Right. Okay. So without further ado, I would like to thanks for all of you who very actively participate in this discussions, and our voice are very well documented. And I hope that our drafting committee will try to consolidate all the things and can present back to our plenary discussion. And during the plenary discussion, you will have the right to input in our drafting committee member consolidate not completely from this discussion. Is it okay? So hope you enjoy the lunch, and we come back at 1:30. Yeah. 1:30 to the plenary. Actually, this room, but they will remove all the things. Thank you.
Come on.